Yeah, just a slight bit more of headroom.
Is that good? Or you want more?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's good.
All right. Back.
And could you tilt your camera down a little bit, Eric?
Yeah. Like a good level of consistency. How's this?
I think that looks good. Yeah, just more headroom is helpful, especially when there's 5 people on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, 7:33 live stream. Yeah, I think what would really help just in general in terms of moving through the episodes is less like there's room for, banter and all that, of course, but like for some things like the links line, that could be a fast fire, boom, 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 boom.
So
Yeah.
less commentary on what people are providing.
Yeah. Or yeah, I guess that one in particular.
There are other opportunities, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, stream should be up. And that said, feel free to bounce off any of these fandom predictions and whatnot, so I'm not rambling. I'm also trying to be mindful of not talking for several minutes at once, especially in the start of the episode. That tends to be a thing that happens at the front.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Be mindful of not talking. Oh, so you're saying to chime in so that it's not just
right,
okay.
right.
Got it.
All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to go.
Group pick. 1, 2.
Grabbing the
Christmas goat.
1, 2, 3. Okay.
Now that does not actually make any sound, right? Oh, it does.
Oh, that one does. Yeah.
But it doesn't play jingle bells like I thought it did when
Correct. It's not
ordered it.
the same as the Halloween version,
Yeah.
which has a little Halloween jingle.
Yeah.
Hey, patrons.
Hello.
Let's see Gabby and Lydia. Good to see y'all.
Yeah. Our last episode of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to do a bonus MuggleCast today, too. So buckle up. All right. Welcome to MuggleCast, your weekly ride into the world of Harry Potter. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
And I'm Laura.
And we're your Harry Potter friends closing out our 20th year of this podcast, talking about the books and the movies and the upcoming TV show. So make sure you press that follow button in your favorite podcast app and you'll never miss an episode. And this week, as we wind down 2025, we're taking questions and comments from you, our listeners. It's time for another Muggle mailbag. But before that, since it's our final episode of the year, panel, why don't we look ahead to 2026? Why should people keep listening in the year? No, I'll cut that out.
That's a good question, right? We have to I forgot that at the end of every year of this show, we have to justify another year of our continued existence once we pass a certain threshold.
No, I think it's fun to make some fandom predictions, and then we can look back this time next year and see if we got any of them right. I don't think we did this last year, so I think it'll be fun to do this.
I think,
okay?
Andrew, I think Mel Brooks is going to die.
That's a reference to Millennial. Yes, I did make that death prediction.
That's
We're
great.
Death
Cross
predictions
promo.
today. Yeah.
Oof.
So, okay, here's my first fandom prediction for 2026. Well, actually, let me try that again. Here's my first question about 2026. Will we hear about the Hogwarts Legacy sequel? There's been rumors for a while that it's going to happen. That game has now sold 40 million copies, by the way. They announced that the other day. So will we hear about the sequel in 2026?
Yeah, I think we'll hear that it's been, it'll be an officially greenlit project. I don't know that we'll hear much more. Probably not plot even. but that's my expectation. And did they already release the director's cut edition that was
No.
teased?
So maybe that will come in 2026.
Maybe by 2027 they'll fix the butterflies or the things you chase around the lightning
Oh,
bugs.
the moths.
The moths. I was so close.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I still have one that is bugged out and I can't get it. It's so annoying.
Yep.
Laura, Micah?
I don't see why we wouldn't get some news on the follow-up, because the original came out in 2023 and would imagine that they've been working on it. So I would even say that a release date probably is not that far off, right?
Hearing about one? Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it didn't they brag that it sold like 200 million copies or 200
I just
million
said 40 million a few
40
minutes
million.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about
Laura,
that.
what do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we may get a release date, but I don't think it'll be anything more than that. I think that would be like the best news we could get.
I'll go ahead and predict we'll hear about a release date too, and some details.
I wonder if you'll inhabit your same character, like if you'll port your character over for another year of Hogwarts, or if you'll like go back to the basics and be like a totally different aged up student.
Maybe. Next prediction question I have for y'all. Will we receive a Harry Potter TV show release date announcement by the end of 2026? We're not going to see the show next year, but will we get an announcement, a specific date? I'm going to say yes.
I mean, yeah, I would hope so because they've been saying early 2027, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got to have a release date. Although I'm not convinced we're getting it in early 2027.
Right.
Andrew? Yeah.
I think that we will get a date by the end of next year, but that between now and then it'll get delayed again.
Micah?
I think we'll get a release date. I also think you'll get a teaser trailer by the end of 2026.
Ooh, okay. All right. Get ready for that MuggleCast episode. One thing we do know for sure, setting aside the video game and the TV show, is that the Half-Blood Prince Illustrated Edition will be released October 2026. They've already announced that. This is the Jim K, but no longer Jim K illustrated series. So if you've been collecting those, and I have, you'll have that to look forward to in the new year. Any other predictions, y'all?
Not for me. I'm excited to see what the year brings. Trying to be optimistic.
Yeah, I think it has to do with we touched recently on, you guys recorded that video on the potential merger with Netflix or Paramount and Warner Brothers, and I think that however that nets out will determine whether we get, an influx of more news. I'm thinking about when Disney bought Lucasfilm and all of a sudden they started greenlighting left and right new Star Wars projects, and they kept mentioning there were all these new series in development and all this other stuff. Like, I very much foresee that sort of thing happening if a merger goes through, just because they're going to want to monetize as soon as possible the IPs that they just bought. And if that doesn't happen, then I'd like to see actually less news, because it means that Warner Brothers is just focusing on making the TV show the best it can be.
I'm going to say that merger isn't going to go through until this time next year at best. And then maybe sometime in early 2027, we'll start hearing about those other spinoffs that you're referencing, Eric, because they're going to need time to figure out what they want to do.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll find out who is playing Voldemort in 2026?
Ooh, yes.
But not Peeves. I predict
not
that
Peeves.
Peeves will be kept a secret until the first episode that he's in will air, and it'll be a total secret.
Okay, well, I also have some unhinged predictions for 2026.
Ooh.
I'm feeling a little funky, and I thought, let's just throw anything at the wall and see what sticks. We know the Wizarding World is always expanding. We know they always want to add new stuff to the Wizarding World. So my first unhinged prediction is they're going to launch a new TV show, actually, called Harry Potter Wizards of Drinking. And this is a spin-off of the cooking show Wizards of Baking, which now has 2 seasons, so it's clearly doing well.
I'm here for it.
Yeah. I declare canon. This is very much in line. There's a lot of drinking in these books.
And
Yeah.
in the fandom, right? I mean,
Yes.
I've had a college butterbeer recipe since I was in college, so it's and I love to share it.
Yeah. Yeah, this would be like an HBO show, I think. It's less family friendly, but Wizards of Drinking would be a lot of fun. Okay, my next unhinged prediction is we will get a new Harry Potter book series. Yes, you heard right. This is a gender-bent Harry Potter series. Now, I think this for 2 reasons. First of all, J.K. Rowling is obsessed with gender. And it's already been done for Twilight fans. Stephenie Meyer did a gender-bent Twilight. It's hard to imagine this really happened, but it did. It was called Life and Death. And I think the gender-bent Harry Potter would star Harrietta, Ray, R-A-E, and Herman. That was the best name I could
Herman.
think for a male Hermione.
Oh, poor Herman. I already feel bad for him. Yeah, the funny thing about this, I think I actually read the Twilight one, and I thought it was pretty
I'm so
interesting.
sorry. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I liked Midnight Sun a lot. And yeah, that's a series. It's just so interesting. Wasn't Bella like Bo instead? And what was Edward's name? Anyway, it's always interesting as a take. There's probably really good fan fiction on this sort of premise in general. And I prefer if it stays in the realm of fan fiction rather than an official treatment, but I like how unhinged these predictions are.
Well, we also know that there's a lot of editions of the core Harry Potter books. We've had the illustrated editions, we've had the full cast editions, the basic audiobook editions with respect to Jim Dale and Stephen Fry. We've had like 3D versions, spin-offs, pop-out editions with the Mina Lima editions. I think they are just going to merge everything and do a Harry Potter, the illustrated full cast audiobook 3D pop-out editions. Why not? We already...
Amazing.
They got to come up with new editions. They have so many. Why not this too?
And you have to carry the book around when you're they're going to revive Wizards Unite, and you're going to have to carry the book around to capture beasts that have escaped from your book.
Oh, and Eric, just for you, they're going to start splitting the books into part 1 and part 2 to further
Thank
squeeze
you.
money
My good. I
out
was
of
going to make
us.
that joke a minute ago for the illustrated, but if they didn't do it for order, you guys, it's not going to happen. I think it's safe to say that that was misguided or simply incorrect on my part. I had high hopes for that.
And then finally, Wizards After Dark. So catering to the OG Harry Potter fans who are now at least in their 30s, including us, I think Warner Brothers is going to continue to expand their vast official Harry Potter merchandise lineup with a new line of romantic Harry Potter toys.
I support this 100% in terms of as a crazy theory. It made me laugh, made me chuckle. And I even, Andrew, came up with a pitch that I think you would appreciate for their first official Wizards After Dark product.
Go ahead.
You remember the vibrating broomstick?
Yeah, it's in my closet right now.
Now it's foldable and it fits in your purse.
Oh, like a travel size. Okay.
Wizards After Dark. And I think you're right, because there's an upper limit to how much different merchandise they can possibly come up with. They've been doing official merch for 25 years now with the flagship store in New York, the Chicago store, other stores worldwide, the Universal parks, everything. They've got to be hitting an upper limit of like all the PG and PG-13-ish rated like possible merch that they could ever come up with has now been done. They have no choice but to make everything a little bit more adult.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember back in the day when J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers went after some of the more adult Harry Potter fan fiction websites. So I don't think I see this one flying, but we'll see.
Well, the fans were younger, most of them, but we've aged up now. We need to be, let's say, entertained at this age. Micah, would you buy any Wizards After Dark merchandise?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to see the product line first, but I'm open to it.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Well,
I think
what
you need
do
to add. You have to add in a word that starts with N so that you can have the acronym WAND, Wizards After Something Dark.
Oh,
I'm just trying to help you market here, Andrew.
a wizard's wand work? Wizards looking. I don't. Okay, we'll think about that
Okay.
during our break.
No, these are all really great ideas. As we were talking about, it made me think a little bit though that Warner Brothers, they need a splash in 2026. You can't go an entire year without having something, and I feel like probably for them, and is this really them at the end of the day? Epic Universe was their big moment in 2025, right? For the Harry Potter franchise overall. I don't know if you can go an entire year without having something to entice the fan base.
mm,
Yeah.
I'm not sure because I'm thinking back to the many years we went without a new book, right? Between books 5 and 6, 6 and 7. And granted, we were
Yeah, but
doing
that's
things.
different though.
There is
Is it?
anticipation building in between the books, like that. The
Well, there's
fandom was more
anticipation for
alive.
the show.
True.
know.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that's fair.
I think we'll get a maybe a trailer in spring,
Ooh.
and like for the show,
Uh-huh.
and it won't air until at least a year later. But that trailer will be good enough and enough casting announcements. They'll finally announce Peeves. I'll be very excited. And that'll be it. But that will carry people over through.
I just think you can't dangle the carrot for too long because people have other things that interest them.
Well,
You
everyone
got
knows
to
the
pump the
show is
fandom up.
everyone knows this show is happening though. Like it's not like people aren't aware of it.
So, what do we at MuggleCast have planned for this show in 2026? We are excited to share that in the new year, we will start looking forward and back on the Wizarding World in a couple of exciting new segments and episodes. First, we are planning TV show focused episodes of MuggleCast releasing once a month that will help you get ready for this major new series. And we will be releasing separate content looking back at the fandom with deeper dives on earlier Harry Potter content like specific video games, fandom events, spin-off books, and much more. And we're still ironing out details about these two things, but stay tuned for more information in the new year. We know people are very excited about the Harry Potter TV show, and we want to hang out in that excitement with you. So we have some ideas for how to cover, again, what's coming in Harry Potter and what we've loved about Harry Potter in the new year.
That's something that I'll say is very makes me proud too, is that we're closing out, as you say, our 20th year. I don't know how we got here, but that we're still excited to continue making the show and continue interacting with our listeners and our patrons who have been so supportive to us throughout the years. So that's very exciting. Closing out this train wreck of a year with a lot of positive vibes for this, for our audience specifically.
Yeah, and of course, in 2026, we'll continue through Half-Blood Prince chapter by chapter and move on to Deathly Hallows, while also sharing the latest Wizarding World news with you all.
Can I just say, Deathly Hallows is the book that I've been wanting to do chapter by chapter for since we started this chapter by chapter, 3 years ago now at this point, because it's the book that I've read the least. And, I'm just really excited to reintroduce and really go through it with the freshest eyes that I can.
Yeah.
So now I'm enjoying the heck out of our Half-Blood Prince. It's my second favorite book after all, but Deathly Hallows is going to be lit, y'all. I'm very excited for chapter by chapter.
I actually think I've read Deathly Hallows least too. Laura, Micah, where do you guys
Same.
land? Really?
I mean,
Deathly
it makes
Hallows?
sense. It's the last book that came out.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
were those fans
Yeah,
who
true.
every time a new book came out, they would reread the previous 6 or the previous 5 or the previous 4. So even if you only did that, book 7, once it came out, there was not an impetus to reread. But I mean, it's not close. My other rereads are double digits, and Deathly Hallows is, I think, 3. I think total 3 times. I didn't really like it that much, to be honest. So very excited.
Micah?
In terms of Deathly Hallows,
Yeah,
probably similarly. I haven't read it as much as the other books, and I think that's just a product too of us having done chapter by chapter for all the other books.
True.
And Deathly Hallows has kind of been left on the back burner. But I will say, I do feel like we spent a lot of time after book 7 was released talking
Yeah.
about what happened in book 7. We just didn't do it chapter by chapter.
Well, we actually
That's
did
true.
do a chapter by chapter.
Well, we
but
did chapter by chapter, but yeah, there's a lot of
But it was right
additional
after.
episodes that
Yeah.
that you could attribute specifically to book 7.
Yeah. It's
So-
been like 18 years since we've done chapter by chapter for Deathly Hallows.
So, as you can see, we have exciting plans and need your help to make them happen. And if you want to see this show soar into the new year, we invite you to become a member of our community at patreon.com/MuggleCast. And by joining, you'll get instant access to 2 bonus episodes every month, ad-free episodes of everything we do, access to our live streams, a personal video thank you message from one of the 4 MuggleCasters, a gift delivered by Ali Cheer, and much more. And I mentioned bonus MuggleCast. Laura, what are we doing this week?
So actually, we're going to be looking way back in MuggleCast history this week by not just thinking about MuggleCast, but thinking about the website that brought us all together, MuggleNet.com, because we were all volunteers on that website way back when. It's how we all met. It's really the place where, you know, we brought together the people who were inspired to create this show. And we're going to share some fun, and sorry, you can hear my dog. She's very unhappy that I'm podcasting right now. We're going to talk about some funny, maybe some spicy memories about some of the drama that happened amongst the staff back in the old days. So it should be really fun if you're interested in the insider baseball of the Harry Potter fandom.
Yeah, something new in 2026. We're also going to be doing a bonus MuggleCast is getting a little more unhinged in those episodes, including more behind-the-scenes looks at the early days of MuggleNet. And you know what? It's the last episode of the year. To heck with everything, y'all. Let's just pop off on MuggleNet in bonus MuggleCast this week.
Let's keep it relatively respectful. I still work.
It's called a
MuggleNet.
tease. Just go with it.
Okay, all right. We're gonna spill all. We're gonna absolutely just MuggleCast's version of Muggle Suck right here. It's gonna be great.
Eric's afraid of Cat's wrath, I think.
I don't.
No, it'll be fine.
We're not talking about anything present day.
Let's cut this all
some
out,
people won't
please.
change.
Yeah,
I am.
it's all good.
Don't.
Micah looked like you were going to say something.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And if you're looking for other ways to support us, you can leave us a review in your favorite podcast app. You can tell a fellow Muggle about our show, and you can visit MuggleCastMerch.com to buy official show gear. And also at MuggleCastMerch.com, you'll find a link to our Overstock store where you can find discounted merchandise from years past, including our Cozy Comfy Combo Pack, which offers the MuggleCast beanie and socks at one reduced price. Perfect for the colder months out of the year. And now let's get to Muggle Mail, and we'll start with some voicemails. This first one is from Amber. We're going to do a mix of feedback today. It's going to be Order of the Phoenix, Half-Blood Prince, and some reactions to recent news. So this first one concerns Order of the Phoenix.
Hey y'all, I was just finishing up the Order of the Phoenix coverage where you were critiquing the pamphlets sent out by the ministry, and it reminded me of a situation from like the early 2000s. I live in Maryland, and the DC sniper was unfortunately in the area at the time, and there were worries about, kids walking to school and getting targeted. So the advice that we received, either from the government or the school system, I can't remember, was that we should walk in a zigzag. So instead of just walking straight down the sidewalk, we were supposed to zigzag, and that was going to be the plan to keep us safe. So I feel like that's really comparable to the advice that the ministry would give out. Bye, y'all.
Bye, Amber.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely sounds like something the ministry would say.
Yeah, walk in a zigzag.
Would have worked for Tom and Stark. Darn. But no, I'm reminded of just what a horrible time that was. The weeks or months that whole phenomenon went on around the DC area. And it's interesting because we actually just had two of our patrons share that their countries, I think one of them was Sweden, one of them might have been Denmark, are actually, they recently provided pamphlets on what to do in the case of various escalating tensions. Oh, it's the Netherlands. The Netherlands and Sweden both sent out, due to heightening global conflict that's going on toward the end of this year, instructional booklets. And I'll tell you what, like on our recent chapter by chapter, we were critical of the ministry's, like the effectiveness of their suggestions, which I said like they had to do something. Here's an example of what seems to genuinely be good, as far as like very well thought out explanations for what it is you're supposed to do in different instances. So the government has a responsibility, people forget this, to protect the people. That's kind of why the government is around. And so, you know, these pamphlets are one example of how that's what that looks like in real time.
Yeah, it actually reminds me too of earlier this year, there was a active shooter that went into the NFL headquarters in New York City and killed several individuals. And after that, we were trained, I think a lot of folks would know that I work for another sports league. But just given the nature of what happened, we were kind of given that directive. I think that a lot of students are given in this day and age, which is to either run, hide, or fight. And, those kind of being the main three directives. And that's coming from law enforcement, right? So maybe not directly from the government itself, but it kind of aligns with what the voicemail was talking about.
Yeah, Jeanette went on to provide examples what to do when you lose power for 72 hours. There's emergency contact numbers for different government provisions, what you can do to prepare, what to put in an emergency pack, and guidelines for a plan. So also digital attacks, extreme weather. This stuff is actually more often than not helpful, even if it was being lampooned by either us or the Harry Potter books.
All right. What a festive discussion. And
Yeah.
now let's move to some feedback from Robert.
Hey, MuggleCast, it's Robert. I had this thought while I was listening to your final Order of the Phoenix chapter episode, when you were talking about Fudge and his harumphing around using Voldemort's name. And I had a thought that I've had for a while, and apologies if you've brought this up on the show before, but how do children in the 90s in the Wizarding world know what Voldemort's name is? Because the whole stigma is that no one ever says it. Obviously, he addressed himself as that in the first Wizarding War. That's why everyone's afraid of referring to him by name. But if nobody ever says his name, and children born after 1981, when he allegedly died, are hearing about these horrible events that happened, like, are history books writing the name out? Are parents, like, one and done saying, okay, I'm going to tell you what his name was, but don't ever ask me to say it again, just so you know it and you know to be scared of it in the future? Like, how do they know?
That's a really fun question. I actually would see it sort of as a curse word, where the kids are kind of tempted to say it because the parents don't want them to say it, and the parents don't say it either.
That's how I feel about it. I was actually going to harken back to this time of year, like Christmas era 1994, at my cousin's house when I first learned what the F word was. And it was, we were kind of, there was a large group and we snuck out to like the back of the room. And that was when my cousin Frank, told me what the F word
Fudge.
meant.
Very bad, terrible
Fudge.
prime minister.
Because I didn't know. You knew you weren't supposed to say it, but you didn't know. And that was when I learned fudge. So I think it's like that. I think that it's, you're allowed to learn it once, and then I don't know who tells you might be different, but you're not supposed to say it out loud.
Yeah, I tend to feel similarly about it, that I think a lot of younger kids might hear about it from older kids, because I agree, it is like a curse word. And probably older kids who were like teenagers at the time of the first war and clearly remember who Voldemort was, I could see them teasing the younger kids and being like, I bet you don't know what his name is, because everybody is like so scared of him all the time talking about you know who. And I can see younger kids being really pushy about wanting to know who it is. So I think that's probably most likely what
Yeah.
happened.
Fun question, Robert.
Yeah, I'd
Mhm.
almost be curious how much his name was utilized during the First War, because it seems like very much a post downfall of Voldemort situation where there's a fear of saying his name because you're afraid that it's almost like the boogeyman, right? You're afraid that he's going to show up at your door if you speak his name aloud. And
Hmm.
I think the other piece of it too is don't underestimate the ability of children to find out information.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
And if your parents, and this goes to the point that was raised earlier, are talking about somebody and they're calling him he who must not be named, the natural inclination is to find out what that person's name is.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's available. Like you could easily look at the Daily Prophet from back then and find
Oh, yeah.
information. So I actually I agree. I like Robert's question a lot, but I feel like the information is much more readily available. It's more so that these children were told not to say his name.
Carly has
All
a really
right.
interesting point listening live in the Discord. She says, my second grader recently had a situation like that. He sang all the words to Steve's Lava Chicken, including, quote, tasty as hell, in his class while they were dancing to the song. He found out it wasn't a school word when his classmates freaked out and started overreacting, as second graders do.
All right, let's move to our second voice. All right, let's move to this voicemail today from Caitlin, and it looks like her daughter is auditioning for maybe a TV show or audiobook.
Well, this is, I think, still in
Hello,
response. Oh, I don't mean
No, go
to
ahead.
interrupt
Go ahead,
her.
set it up.
Yeah, so this is in response to, I think, our previous Muggle Mail episode where we had asked our patrons to submit impersonations. And so Caitlin's came in a little late, but because it's her daughter, I figured
Oh, okay.
it's
Yeah.
only appropriate that we give her a shot here.
And maybe this is an audition for the Harry Potter Illustrated Full Cast Audiobook 3D Pop Out editions, which are definitely happening in 2026. So here we go.
Well, I'm going to say a quote from Hermione in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, Chapter 9, The Midnight Duel. I hope you're pleased with yourselves. We could have been killed or worse, expelled. Now, if you two don't mind, I am going to bed.
Very nice.
Well
Very
done.
I
nice.
think you got the
That-
pronunciation. The diction is excellent. I support it. That's great.
And one of very few times in world history where a young girl or boy said, I'm going to bed, just on their own accord. Normally their parents have to say that. All right, so let's move to some emails. This first one is from Michael concerning our Order of the Phoenix discussions, and specifically Neville and we should do an ad break first. All right, we're going to get to some emails but first we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. So now let's get to some emails, and we're going to start with ones focused on Order of the Phoenix. This first one is from Michael concerning Neville and the prophecy. Hey, y'all. I just listened to episode 715 about Order of the Phoenix chapter 34. When y'all were talking about the prophecy and how Neville told Harry not to pick it up, I was wondering if Neville could have picked it up himself. When the prophecy was made, it could have been about either one, Harry or Neville. When Voldemort tries to kill Harry, he is marking him as his equal, and therefore the prophecy becomes about Harry. When it was made, though, it still could have been about either boy. Does the physical prophecy change when Voldemort's actions change destiny? Or is it stuck in the state it was created in, meaning Neville might be able to pick it up? It's obviously labeled for Harry, but there is some uncertainty implied. What do y'all think?
If I recall correctly, the decision to label the prophecy as being about Harry was made after Voldemort marked him. So
Yes.
I don't even think it I don't think it would make a difference to the prophecy itself if it was labeled for Harry or Neville, because it could have been about either one of them.
The not being able to touch the prophecy is strictly a security feature of the Hall of Prophecy. So when somebody, because I think doesn't Harry reads it and it says Sybil Trelawney's initials between Dark Lord and question mark that then gets crossed off in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
And so up until the point where they wrote Harry Potter, Neville would have been able to take it off the shelf. But the only thing I think at question is if they determine that it's meant for Harry, then Neville wouldn't be able to take it. But it has nothing to do with the prophecy or the orb that the prophecy's
Right.
in.
Yeah.
It's just the security feature of being able to pull it.
That was my
off.
feeling too. If Harry's name is written there, then it's
Yeah.
locked to him. Neville can't touch it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Works for me.
The next email is from Mariah on Arthur Death Clues, and she says, Dear Mugglecast, I've been listening for a couple of years now and listened back to 2018, so I can now enjoy both book 6 chapter by chapters at the same time. I'm really looking forward to it as it's my favorite book together with Prisoner of Azkaban. My question, though, is more related to book 5. You guys discussed a couple of times how Sirius was set up to die from the beginning, and I definitely see all the foreshadowing in earlier books. That made me wonder, though. The author has mentioned before that she was seriously considering killing Arthur in the snake attack. If she'd really done that, are there hints in earlier books that he was about to die that we would have interpreted otherwise had he died? I can't think of anything, but maybe you can. Hope to hear your thoughts. Thanks for all you do. Mariah, a Ravenclaw from the Netherlands.
So I have a crackpot theory here. There was foreshadowing while the author was debating killing Arthur. And that came through the Weasley clock when it constantly has the whole family sets at mortal peril. And the phrase, a broken clock is right twice a day, would fit here. So let's say all the hands are pointed at mortal peril. Fred died, obviously, in book 7. What if Arthur had died in book 5? A broken clock is right twice a day. That's 2 people who died. It ended up being correct. Does that crackpot theory make sense?
I see where you're going with it. I think it's a bit of a stretch for me though, because of all the hands pointing at mortal peril. I don't know. I really can't think of any foreshadowing that might have been like woven throughout the earlier books for Arthur. We may have to come back to it though.
I was looking for some ideas. I couldn't really find anything. This is because people talk about Arthur's potential death online, and yeah, there wasn't really clear foreshadowing signs.
I think the more interesting question was, would she still have killed Sirius? Would it have been a
I
double
don't think
dip?
so.
And then how would that have played itself out in the rest of the series? I think maybe there are some things that she could have done with Arthur that she did with Sirius, where I think I'm trying to remember back to Order of the Phoenix, where I think it was like Fred and George are messing around and like there's a knife that drops right in front of where Sirius is either standing or sitting, and there's little clues like that. And I don't know, like maybe she would have written things a little bit more in Arthur's favor then. It's hard to say. Like there weren't any clues really that Cedric was going to bite the dust, and he did. So like I don't think you necessarily need to have like
foreshadowing
or little nuggets. Like
I don't see Arthur and Sirius dying in the same book. That's too much. You can't kill two
other
of Harry's
than book
father
7.
figures.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
this
that's
isn't
the end. That's
this
different.
isn't book 7 after all.
Yeah,
You get, you know, Hedwig and Mad Eye and Tonks and Lupin and
yeah. So to answer your question, Micah, no, I just don't see them both dying in one book.
No, but what about what they're asking about here? It's I don't know that it would have been written much differently.
yeah, I think that maybe there were moments of foreshadowing that when that plot was decided that Arthur would not die, they were removed. Anything too on the nose would have been caught by the editor or the author and removed. Yeah, because for the most part, I mean, we rarely see Arthur Weasley, and when we do, he's generally good-natured and happy. If he looks stressed, it's because work. If he looks pale, it's because ginger. I would struggle to find any examples of him being marked or supposedly for death.
All right. Moving on, we have some comments from Spotify. First one's from Elliot, who is leaving a comment. Here, let me do that again. First one is from Elliot, who left this comment on our Oh Hell Doe episode, which was covering Half-Blood Prince Chapter 8, Snape Victorious. And Elliot says, I think the genius that is Snape oftentimes has hidden meanings within his responses. Telling Harry that Tonks's Patronus looks weak could have been a subconscious way of trying to give a hint or a clue for Harry, connecting with him through his love for his mother Lily. I think Snape often says things he regrets because of his bitterness and self-loathing, and so he tries to make up for that in his own double or opposite meaning Snape-ish sort of way. I like it.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. I think Snape wants to sort of get his feelings off his chest, not necessarily to Harry, but clearly this love has driven him kind of mad since the beginning, and he needs to let those feelings out there. So maybe this is one example of letting them out just ever so slightly.
Oh, I don't know though. His love for Lily is the linchpin that explains all of his motivations ever that like he has to keep from Voldemort. And so I don't think he would allow himself to slip that big of an Easter egg to the son of the woman he loved. Like I think he doesn't care about Harry's well-being at all. So he would never, ever, ever tell Harry that except at the very last moment of his life.
I'm not saying that Harry wants to, or Snape wants to tell Harry. I'm just saying he's got a lot within him bottled up that he
Yeah.
might sort of accidentally let slip out from time to time because
I think he projects it onto other people, though. Like
Yeah,
that's
that makes sense.
that's what I think is happening in this moment with Tonks more than anything else. I don't think that he says things that he really regrets. I think he says things from the point of being bitter or having this self-loathing personality, but I don't think that he has any real regret in him. Maybe we don't see that come until book 7, but I don't know. I don't get that vibe from Snape.
I like it. So this next comment comes from Britann in the regarding the episode Fame W. Walrus. I think too that it's important to remember that not all wizards are powerfully magical. We're hearing about some of the most powerful in their community, but the everyday witch or wizard may not be able to perform a Fidelius charm or protections for their homes. They may just not be skilled enough. We hear about the quick spell course with Filch, so we know there are people who are just very average. We know that not everyone apparates as well because it's a hard skill. Actually, that is something that I so appreciate getting called out because we do have like this collective bias being so intimately familiar with Snape and Dumbledore and McGonagall and like Flitwick's capabilities that the average everyday, barely past his OWLs Ron Weasley would, as an adult, if he didn't have Hermione there, probably use a pamphlet to protect his home and find some use in it. So,
yeah, I agree. I appreciate the reminder that we should keep in mind that not everybody is going to be a very powerful wizard. We're typically very focused on talking about their lives, and of course, they're a big focus of these books. So you can maybe see why we're so like focused on everybody having a large skill set. But yeah, there's probably the everyday people who just are like not that great.
And that was why there was such value in the DA, because it got everybody to perform like a Patronus, like a full corporeal Patronus. Like the people at the ministry would be shocked if they found out that all these 15-year-olds could do that.
This next one is a quickie. It's just from Jeremiah, and he says, "I love Micah's dad jokes."
Oh, thanks, Jeremiah.
That's
Now,
actually
Micah,
a
you put
friend of
this.
mine who lives here, and he also really likes your voice, Micah, as well. And I really appreciate that Jeremiah sounded off in the comments, even though he could have just texted me that thought. So
I was gonna say, who does this? Well, Micah, you put this doc together. Does that mean that you have a dad joke prepared to get to share on the show?
Well, I did not prepare this section of the document, but who knows? Maybe a little bit later on there will be a dad joke forthcoming.
no, don't get Jeremiah too excited.
We'll wait for that.
We also heard from Heidi. This is on the Snape is good, bad debate that preceded the release of Deathly Hallows. And she says, I remember doing a debate on Snape. I was totally Snape is a good guy, and I was the only one. Those people who disagreed with me were super, shall we say, passionate. I had nothing substantial to back up my stance, and I remember yelling, because I just know he's a double agent. And they yelled me off the stage.
Oh,
Whoa.
Who are these people? Mind you, I was 28. They were a bunch of teenagers. I hope after reading Deathly Hallows, they thought about that debate and the quote, old lady that defended Snape's honor, albeit weakly.
Oh, that's a fun, if not traumatic, memory. Thank you, Heidi, for sharing.
and I'd be nervous to like go somewhere at a convention, state an unpopular opinion, and then like Gen Z boos me off the stage. That would be really like that would really hurt my ego. I'm joking.
Yeah. Well, our next comment comes from Valiant Knight over on YouTube, and this is about our recent "Is Snape a good teacher?" discussion. And Valiant Knight says, no one is arguing that Snape is an extremely skilled and precocious potions master, but he's a horrible teacher. Even the Half-Blood Prince stuff, he's not teaching Harry there. He's just updating recipes to work better and more thoroughly than the originals in the book. That's more skilled potion master stuff, but it isn't teaching him any theory.
I think I agree with this, and I think that that makes sense to me to what, as far as like why the writing is in the potion book in the first place. It's Snape being kind of taking a page out of Hermione's book and being such an insufferable know-it-all that he's like, I can do this better. Like, this isn't efficient. And he crosses everything off and just writes the way that he knows because he's annoyed with the book for existing. And every page he turns the page and he's like, more wrong stuff I have to fix, and then fixes it. Like, I don't think he's writing that book with the intention of ever helping anyone else that's reading it, because he doesn't take
No.
to teaching in any different
That
of an
style.
energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a complete contrast to, let's say, looking at another Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, Lupin. He's probably the only one we can point to in that subject that actually teaches the students. And I agree with what Valiant Knight is saying. Snape is good. He's a great wizard, but he can't teach worth a dime.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to pop over to the Discord, and the first comment here, also on Snape, is from L. Alay 11. Who knows?
What?
Something that's come up for me is that when fans discuss Snape, there's a surprisingly strong school of thought that Snape is a quote-unquote good teacher based on the concept that he writes up his own version of instructions for potions on the blackboard. That's why he always handwrites them. Now, I'm a Snape defender most of the time, but Half-Blood Prince puts paid to this version of events. If Snape had always shared his own version of events with the class, why does Harry suddenly go from potions middling student to potions genius? The only explanation I can think of is that he hasn't had Snape's full instructions before. Plus, Hermione. If Snape had told the class before to crush the Sophophorus bean to better release the juice, then I think we could count on Hermione to have remembered that. Unless it's the first time they've ever used them, which I guess is possible.
Yeah, this is really incredible. This thought that not once did Snape really provide any of his classes that the Gryffindors were in with these types of tips. Oh, you'll find that crushing a bean works better than slicing it 9 times out of 10. None of that. Otherwise, Hermione would already have internalized it. And the instructions that he's giving to the class are basically the book instructions, even though he knows there's better ways to achieve. I mean, this is like a trade secret almost. It's like the Snape brand potion is always going to be better because he has these hacks. But when it comes time to teach the kids, he's just going to give them the basic because like no student is going to show him up. You know what I'm saying? So he's kind of keeping the best stuff that's in the potions book for himself. That's a theory.
Yeah. Rachel says, something that really jumped out to me during the first potions lesson is that I finally see why Hermione is Gryffindor and not Ravenclaw. She's very bright and driven by success, but she is not intuitive. She goes by the book. If we're understanding Ravenclaws to be curious, inquisitive, and creative, we'd likely see a bit more of that from Hermione. Or am I way off? Actually,
I think you're spot on.
This is a good call out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be inquisitive to be a Ravenclaw?
I mean, that is definitely one of the defining features, I would say.
Micah, do you agree?
Yeah, because it's the pursuit of knowledge, right? It's not that you have a lot of knowledge and so you should be a Ravenclaw. It's because you want and seek and understand the things like the nuance. That makes sense.
All right, next is from Kathleen. She writes about Half-Blood Prince. Half-Blood Prince is my favorite Potter book, and I'm loving your chapter by chapter so much. Some questions. Here's one question that I have. Why doesn't Dumbledore explain to Harry how to destroy Horcruxes? This would have saved so much time and stress in Deathly Hallows. The withered hand comes up so many times. Why couldn't Dumbledore say to Harry, I tried X with the ring, Horcrux, and it caused this irreversible curse that is steadily killing me, so don't do X. Instead, the safest course of action for destroying a Horcrux is to do A, B, C. So I feel like, and I think we were kind of touching on this a week or two ago, I think Dumbledore wants Harry to think on his own, to think critically, to try and answer these questions himself rather than spelling everything out for him. Otherwise, how is he going to become a better wizard? How is he going to, I don't know, save the Wizarding World the next time? And Dumbledore is totally not in the picture. Like, he wants to train Harry up. And he probably also really believes in Harry brainstorming with Ron and Hermione. And anybody else that Harry wishes to ask.
Yeah, it does look from one perspective like he's withholding crucial information since, after all, like, Dumbledore has destroyed a Horcrux, the ring Horcrux. Like I said, like pretty much right when this book starts. But then again, Harry have unique insight into destroying a Horcrux. What I think maybe happened, and we'll have to get to this part in the book to confirm it, but maybe Dumbledore really was surprised in his weakened state to come back from the cave and find the dark mark above Hogwarts. Maybe if they had had one more session, Dumbledore and Harry did, that would have been the I'm going to give you the Horcrux books. Now that we have, a Locket Horcrux, if it really was the real Locket Horcrux that they found in the cave, which we know it wasn't, there would have been a lesson from Dumbledore to Harry on actually destroying them. But circumstances of the book tragically cut that short and prevent that lesson from ever happening. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I want to point out Justin in our Discord is asking, didn't Dumbledore expect Hermione to help with that? And I am recalling something around this. And I feel like I recall there being a Dumbledore quote about him kind of counting on Hermione to slow Harry down. Does anyone remember that?
Slow down in what way?
Yeah,
Think
well,
more
like
critically?
basically take more time to figure it out so he could do it right.
Okay.
I feel like there was this, like, I must admit I was counting on Miss Granger to slow you down or something like that. Someone correct me.
Yeah, so Deathly Hallows, page 101. Ron says, how in the name of Merlin's pants have you managed to get your hands on those Horcrux books? Hermione says, it wasn't stealing. They were still library books, even if Dumbledore had taken them off the shelves. Anyway, if he really didn't want anyone to get them, I'm sure he would have made it much harder to... I just did a summoning charm, and they zoomed out of Dumbledore's study window right into the girls' dormitory. I think that's
So
the
here's
extent.
what Dumbledore said in chapter 35, Laura. This answers your question. I am afraid I counted on Miss Granger to slow you up, Harry. I was afraid that your hot head might dominate your good heart. I was scared that, if presented outright with the facts about those tempting objects, you might seize the Hallows as I did, at the wrong time, for the wrong reasons. If you laid hands on them, I wanted you to possess them safely. So,
Yeah.
good memory, Laura.
Yeah. So by that slow you up, it means like prevent Harry from overreacting. So it's
Mhm.
not like prevent you from succeeding the way that it sounds originally, I think. So interesting stuff. But yeah, for the Horcrux books, like Dumbledore's only effort, I guess, was making the Horcrux books summonable if somebody should think to do that. I think he really fell short of helping them figure out how to destroy Horcruxes. So this next comment comes from Tangled Yarn, aka Carolyn. She says, "Why does the background subplot of Tonks/Lupin feel so underbaked to the point of being distracting in Half-Blood Prince? Rereading HP6 is totally reminding me of how much a point is made to mention Tonks and to mention her being at Black Manor all the time in Book 5, but for some reason it doesn't feel like the payoff is worth the mentions. It's one of the few threads in the Harry Potter books that feels lazily contrived to me, presumably for the end goal of Lupin having a kid and then being killed, despite the effort that went into hinting at the relationship across a few books. Was it supposed to remind us that there are things going on in the adults' lives that Harry has no knowledge of? Was it to point out how much work the Order was doing that Harry didn't have the smallest clue about? Was it because adult women in Harry Potter can't be single unless they're awful? Also, what is Hermione getting up to while Harry's busy stalking Malfoy and Ron is attached to Lavender? What is Hermione's 6th year like? How often is she hanging out with Ginny? A lot of questions there. I think we're going to probably have to touch on some as we continue to read. But what do you guys think about the Tonks and Lupin thing already?
I've been thinking about this too as rereading. I'm surprised we're not hearing about it more. And it's been a big-ish mystery so far.
Yeah, it's set up to be kind of paid off more than just like an afterthought at the end. I think we really don't see Tonks very much more in this book, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
I don't recall.
I mean, just in general, I feel like Tonks's character was underserved. Like she just deserved better character development than what she got.
So Tangled Yarn also asked, was it supposed to remind us that there are things going on in the adults' lives that Harry has no knowledge of? I think that could be a good lesson for readers and a good point to make, that there is so much going on in the lives of adults that you never realize. They hide it from you. And you only later on in your life might realize, oh, adults have issues and drama and feelings too. When you're younger, you don't really see your parents and your elders with feelings and like they're going through stuff. But this is a reminder that they are.
Yeah, I mean, imagine finding out in Deathly Hallows sometime that Madame Rosmerta and Tom, the barman of the Leaky Cauldron, were in a relationship once. Like, as a random aside, like one of them died and the other one's really sad about it. And you're like, wait, what? It's like, that would be an example of, oh, these adults have lives outside of, it. But no, I think it's set up because we care about both Tonks and Lupin to be something other than what it ultimately ends up being. So, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that more in Deathly Hallows, I think.
Yeah, I think, and this is brought up by Tangled Yarn. It was meant to serve as kind of a full circle moment for the series, in that you have both Tonks and Lupin having a child who is orphaned by war, which is very similar, obviously, to what happens to Harry, and Harry ends up becoming Teddy's godfather, right? And responsible for caretaking for him. So, you know, the other piece of this too, I know we're talking a lot about Tonks, but I feel like Lupin starts to get a really nasty character arc as a result of the writing. Like, he came into Prisoner of Azkaban as really this beloved Defense Against the Dark Arts professor and member of the Marauders, and the direction that he now starts to go in, I know people don't really look on him very favorably by the time the series wraps. And again, that could just be character development, and as Harry gets older, he's looking at Lupin as more of an adult, and this is who Lupin actually is. But I don't know, his character kind of soured a bit for me, as we move through Half-Blood Prince and Deathly Hallows.
As Carly is saying in our Discord, this all can be maxed. Yes. Play.
Make it better.
Sound effect.
The TV series is a good opportunity to see others' point of view. Yes, Carly, absolutely.
So transitioning into some other Wizarding World news we've talked about, Leofa73 had not so positive feelings about the full cast audiobooks. They said, I think the first book is just okay. I'm still not convinced. I suspect they might get better, but the sound effects are too loud. The narrator is boring because that was a design choice. And the conversations using spatial audio can be difficult to hear. I think I would rather have heard Stephen Fry's narration and have the actors cut in for the voices. I think it was a bad idea to not allow the narrator to be emotive. And Amy added, I love listening to the full cast, but you do need to wear headphones. I wish Audible had this written down so people knew. I've listened to the first 5 chapters without headphones, and the sound was terrible. The volume of the voices was all over the place, and I didn't even realize there was any music. That's how quiet it was. I loved Hagrid. His voice actor is doing a great job. Hagrid is voiced by Mark Addy, as is McGonagall and Hermione. I agree about Hugh Laurie. Every time he speaks, my brain is like, oh, it's Hugh Laurie instead of Dumbledore. Hopefully it will improve.
So on the narrator, that's
Scathing
not
review.
the first. Yeah, well, but it's good because we've just been like, oh my God, this is amazing, except for Hugh Laurie. On the narrator point about them not emoting and maybe just not being that great, I disagree, but this isn't the first time I've heard that somebody's a little underwhelmed by the narrator. So
Yeah, I also disagree. I think the narrator, especially because book 1 is the moment, that's the book where the narration is more characterized. Like, it's funny. The narration itself is funny in book 1. And I think so far what I've heard from book 1 has been enjoyable, like by
Yeah.
the narrator specifically. It works for me, but if it doesn't work for everybody, that's totally fine.
All right. Well, another recent item we've been discussing is Netflix buying possibly HBO and Warner Brothers, which also means they would be buying Harry Potter, which is a crazy idea to think about. So we got a lot of feedback about that discussion that Micah and I recorded. Tyler said, I like Andrew's optimism. It's at the very, very least a huge regime change, which will be bad overall, but could produce a good project or two here and there. LMAO. Britt said,
LMAO.
let's get some limited series spin-offs. C. Gutting said, Fantastic Beasts was incredible. IDGAF, what anyone says, they're responding to my idea that
I don't
maybe
give a
they can
flip.
actually reboot or finish the Fantastic Beasts film series. And then finally, Craig said they would like to see Netflix do a Modern Family style sitcom called The Weasleys, with Molly as the main character showing her life as a mom in the chaotic Weasley home. Wednesdays at 9 p.m. on
with special
Netflix.
guest, the ghoul in the attic, like randomly
Weaseling
shows
Wednesdays.
up. Oh my God.
Now it's time for our Links Line segment. And we thought with the holidays approaching, maybe some of our listeners are looking for a last minute gift idea for a loved one, or maybe you've got extra time to read over the holidays. So we asked our Slug Club patrons at patreon.com/MuggleCast, what have you read this year that you think Harry Potter readers would enjoy? And we asked for I don't need to include that. Host order, here we go. Julianne said, not new, but have to recommend classic fantasy by Tolkien, like The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, and
Silmarillion.
And the Silmarillion. Listen to the Audible version by Andy Serkis, who starred in the films as Gollum. It's bad. He does an incredible job navigating so many voices and narrating. My precious. There, I can do that.
Yeah.
There.
Have you ever seen him
redeemed yourself.
impersonate Trump? It's amazing.
Shannon
really is.
says, Shannon wrote in, The Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells are the first books I've obsessively reread since the Harry Potter series. Most of them are novellas, so they're fast reads. The new Murderbot TV show on Apple TV is really fun too, but the books are better, of course.
Audrey says the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I've only read the first 2 books, but I'm hooked. First book is a lot of world building, but it pays off. It's a fun twist on King Midas.
Ooh.
Rachel says Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Honestly, readers of any age can enjoy these books. They're fun and mystical and have similar elements of a group of friends banding together.
You guys just covered season 2 of the show, right? Over on What the Hype?
We did a preview episode
With Mike Schubert, who has a podcast, The Newest Olympian, that I wanted to plug because it's always nice. There's a reread or read along podcast if our listeners are interested and do get into Percy Jackson.
Manda said The Society of Unknowable Objects by Gareth Brown. It has some modern day magic, mystery, adventure, secrecy with surprising twists and turns. It is in the same world as his book, The Book of Doors. Both are 10 out of 10 stars, in my opinion.
Ooh. Wild Dragon Lady, fun name, says not a new one, but I would recommend the Discworld book series by Terry Pratchett. It has quite a different world building than what you would normally find in fantasy books, often being more of a parody on a lot of things, not only fantasy, but also on everyday stuff. But everything still does make sense in its own way. It's more of a light and fun read, but sometimes still does make you wonder, what if the world would be a little different?
MN Sonia, that good tie into our bonus Mugglecast. Still singing the praises for the Royal Institute of Magic series by Victor Klaus. 3 students in a magical school have to find the pieces of an enchanted suit of armor to defeat an evil wizard. One of the few books I purchased after reading them, as exciting and interesting as the Potter series.
Ooh.
James says, I haven't read any newer books these last few years, but as someone whose entire adolescence revolved around Harry Potter, the only other series that has captivated me in the same way is A Song of Ice and Fire. So I'll recommend A Game of Thrones. While this series has much less magic at first, and despite the series not having been finished, I have yet to find such a well-written and gripping fantasy story on par with A Song of Ice and Fires. The Game of Thrones has mystery, fantasy, political intrigue, and some of the best plot and character development I've ever read.
It's real good.
Jenna said Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Nothing like Harry Potter, but it's my favorite book. It's the only book other than Harry Potter that had me looking up analysis and theories and fan fiction online.
I'm going to second
Jenna,
this one.
So in some way that... So Jenna, in some ways, that means it is like Harry Potter because it really inspires you to read and think about the series just as much.
Yeah, I'm going to second this one. This one is great. I listened to the audiobook of this, which is particularly incredible, and it's going to be a movie coming out, I think, next year. So
Yeah.
Project Hail Mary, yeah, it's incredible. I absolutely was very moved by it. And Rachel G. says Zodiac Academy by Carolyn Peckham and Suzanne Valenti. Dark paranormal romance series set at a magic school but aged up to a modern college setting, aka smut and social media. The magic system and classes are fun as they are impacted by zodiac sign, elemental powers, and, quote, order. 25 plus kinds of creatures. Would advise to research content and trigger warnings. It's not for everyone. That's a good call out. Very thoughtful too.
Michael W. says that might have recommended before, but The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. First of an epic fantasy series that is long, engaging, and very fun.
I know some people who are really into Brandon Sanderson.
Same.
Seems like a cool guy too.
Jen says, for adults, Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've only read the first of 7 books so far, but it was great. Is this wrong? The title?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if that's why you were highlighting it. I've only read the first of 7 books so far, but it was great. It's about a guy and his cat, Princess Donut, who are forced to complete in a Dungeons and Dragons style apocalypse dungeon crawl. I love that.
This is why I was
Very good.
highlighting it.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of attention around this book series. The covers really pop at the bookstore. I've been tempted because if I see enough hype for a certain book, I can't help but resist. This one might have to be added to my list because now I know one of our MuggleCast listeners is into it too. And finally, Kayla B said The Witcher series because I connect a lot of similar theories between The Witcher and Harry
Themes.
Potter. Oh, what did I say? Similar
Theories.
Oh,
I mean, I guess
okay.
that works, but
Yeah, that too. Themes and theory. I'll try it again. The Witcher series because I connect a lot of similar themes between the two. Thank you.
mhm.
Cool. Well, everybody's got their work cut out for them now. Enjoy those books, y'all.
Yeah, and I'm going to recommend my most recent book I read was called This Is How You Lose the Time War, on a friend's recommendation. Kind of sci-fi, pretty quick, pretty short. It blew up more recently, and Barnes & Noble has signed copies by the two authors.
Do any of us have Rex now? Because it's going to be weird if it's just Eric.
I don't. I'm sorry. I didn't come prepared with anything.
If you have any feedback about today's discussion, you can send us an owl several different ways. You can email or send a voice memo to mugglecast@gmail.com. You can use the contact form on mugglecast.com or hit the comments on Spotify, YouTube, or social media. And we will be off for the next 2 weeks, so we'll see you in 2026. But don't miss an end of year unhinged. We're throwing it against the wall. We're throwing it all against the wall. Bonus MuggleCast in which we're going off on drama that occurred during our time at MuggleNet. And I think you can expect more of this in the new year because we know you all are very curious about what was going on at MuggleNet when we were all involved with the site. So it's going to be a tell-all. Visit MuggleCast.com for links to our social media, Patreon, transcripts, our favorite episodes, and lots more. And if you're looking for more podcasting from the four of us, listen to our other shows, Millennial and What the Hype, for more pop culture and real world talk. There will not be a Quizzitch this week, but it will be back next time. That does it. Another year.
Oh, wait.
Gone.
I feel like I need to throw in one dad joke before we close out the year.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So here we go. Questions. Why don't skeletons fight each other?
Why?
They don't have the guts.
Listeners, you have more of those to look forward to in 2026.
That was
What a teaser.
That was such a great way to wrap up year XX.
Thanks, everybody, so much for sticking with us over the past 20 years. We're very much looking forward to the new content we have planned for you in 2026, and of course, continuing to go chapter by chapter through the series and cover any other big news that heads our way. Have a safe and happy holiday season and a happy new year. I'm Andrew.
I'm Eric.
I'm Micah.
And I'm Laura.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, welcome to Bonus MuggleCast, the last installment for 2025. And as promised in the main show this week, we're going to be getting into some of our behind the scenes history of working at mugglenet.com, which I'm sure anyone listening to this knows, but just in case you don't, was or is the #1 Harry Potter fan site online. And it's really what brought us all together. That's how we all met. Because we were nerds and still are, but we were much younger nerds at the time who had a lot of free time available to be unpaid volunteers on a fan site.
Yep.
So I thought that we could talk a little bit about the history of us working there, and probably to start, we could talk about what each of us did back in the day for MuggleNet. What got me hired there and what I did the most. What do you mean? Well, yeah.
Scare
okay.
quotes. You aren't being paid.
W2 and
That's gonna be
all.
a theme today.
No.
Yeah.
No, this was not a
Please, Laura,
W2 job.
Tell
You
us
gotta
about
understand,
your
this was the
child
way that we
labor
talked about this, though.
experiences.
This was the way that this got got talked about when we were teenagers, right? Like, oh, I got a job working on a website. And it's like,
Right.
oh, you got a
Right.
job? You get paid? No, no.
Exactly. Like we had a staff page and everything, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So I was onboarded, if you will, to be a moderator on MuggleNet fan fiction when that was being launched, because originally MuggleNet did not have its own fan fiction, but I think it was a smart decision. They realized that Harry Potter fan fiction was really popping off. So MuggleNet wanted its own, and I was hired to be a moderator, and I did that for a while. And then I got involved in MuggleCast, and I left MuggleNet fanfiction and took over a few pages on the website. I feel like Name Origins was one of them at one point, but to be honest with you, the things that stick out the most for me from those early days are the fanfiction site and then coming over to MuggleCast.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I feel like probably have told the story before, but my entry point to MuggleNet was through MuggleCast, and my entry point to MuggleCast was through the transcripts initially, and doing them for um, a couple of years, and actually had built out quite a team there that helped to support. Now I know Meg handles it all by herself, so I have a lot of respect for that because I know how tedious it can be.
Right.
But um, getting to then, I think Andrew, like I probably worked mostly for you, right? Or is
Through the
that fair to
transcripts?
say? No. Like on MuggleNet itself, like I don't remember exactly when kind of the transition happened from you doing the podcast, where initially it was just the news, and then it was becoming more of a full time host, but then it
Yeah.
also just kind of built from there, where I was doing more on the site.
Yeah, I think you're on the right track because I got started in 2004, I believe, and my first section on MuggleNet was building out the jkrowling.com section. I built that from scratch. That was like my corner of MuggleNet. It felt like my baby. But shortly thereafter, Emerson, who founded the site, went off to college and he became less removed from the site. And then I started getting power hungry. Like I wanted to do more on the site. I had nothing else to do in my life. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a social life. I was playing The Sims online and working on MuggleNet.com. That was it. And I think, Micah, you came on around the time where I was starting to manage more of MuggleNet. So yeah, I think, is that what you're saying? Like,
Yeah, because
I
I remember posting news. I remember also the Name Origins section was a section that I worked on for a period of time. Feels like we all did in
I
some
feel like we've
capacity.
all each, worked on Name Origins at a certain point.
was
Mhm.
that your origin, Eric?
No, although I was put in charge of that section and one of the other like contest segments things. But no, the big thing, the first segment I was like told to do, and I know what it feels like to have like your own corner of the site, because from November of 2002 on, it was the caption contest. And every week for the first year that I was in charge of the caption contest, I think I started in like the third or fourth week ever. So Emerson had the idea to basically do like a New Yorker style caption contest with a photo still frame from the films. And after about 3 weeks, he didn't want to do it anymore. He wanted the site to
That
have it.
sounds
I mean,
like
he had
Emerson. Somebody
he had
else do
other,
it.
well, he knew that I was like super, super, super passionate about Harry. So he's like, okay, how do you do this? And what I liked was the user interactivity. Like you could submit a caption, and if it got chosen, you got your name on the site. It was fantastic. But having to update the website, and I religiously, for the first year that I did this section, I did not have any sleepovers on Saturday nights, because at 12:01 a.m. on Sunday morning, I had to go into the MuggleNet FTP,
Oh
upload
no.
the files, upload the image for the next week and last week's captions, etc. I had, again, pretty much, I'm surprised I still had friends after that first year. Eventually I got lax, started posting them Sunday mornings, or Saturday nights before I would go to my friend's house. But yeah, the caption contest went through a couple of like evolutions throughout the years, but to date there have been 498 caption weeks. And the reason I say it's still going is because I really want to make it to 500. Then I can quit.
So you're still doing it.
So the site is paused at the moment, but
Uh-huh.
yes, the most recent image up there is an oldie but a goodie. It's Dan Radcliffe's Harry and Kenneth Branagh's Lockhart. But yeah, the plan is to at least do 500 weeks of the caption contest.
Okay.
That's cool. Well, at various points, and I would say for the most part, I think we were all unpaid. Some of us did get paid. And Andrew, I don't know if you want to speak to any of that, because that, I
Sure.
mean, that was part of the drama, is you really ended up taking on running the website. You were doing basically everything in terms of like steering the boat and running the strategy. And there were some times where you were not compensated accordingly.
Yeah.
And MuggleNet was making a ton of money,
Yep.
right?
That's the rub. MuggleNet was making a lot of money. 2007, the year the final book came out. I never saw the actual numbers. I
Yeah.
did see Google AdSense a couple of times. I think for some reason had access to that, and that alone was making a good amount of money. But I would guess that site made in 2007, I would guess a good $1 million.
Wow.
I really think so. Like pre-tax. It just and the traffic was insane on the website. We can share more about where we think that money all went maybe in the future. But there did come a point, I think around 2006 maybe, or 2005. It's hard to remember, where I did ask Emerson to start paying me. And I mean, I approached it more delicately than that. But I think my first pay for MuggleNet was $200 a month. And that felt like a big deal at the time.
Oh, yeah.
Making money off a website, like, whoa.
Yeah.
So that was exciting, and it started to feel real to me
Do you
as a
remember?
job.
I have this memory that just is cemented into my mind. And it was one summer, I can't remember which convention we were at. We were all at a convention, and it was during one of the periods of time where you weren't getting paid, but you were still expected to run everything. And there was one point where we had ordered pizza, and Emerson
It
came
always
into
comes back to pizza.
he came into our room and he started eating our food. And you were pissed because you were like, dude, you're not even freaking paying me and you're eating my food. And Matt was there. And Matt just walked up to Emerson and just slapped him
Slapped him.
across the
Yep.
face.
Literally slapped
I
him.
remember that.
All-time great moment in MuggleNet history.
Y'all, I was sitting on the bed. I burst out laughing and had to like put a pillow over my face because it was just like, it was wonderful. It
That
was
was the
perfect.
nicest thing
This-
Matt ever did for me.
This either has to be, was this in Texas or San Francisco?
I think one of those two, 08 or 09.
Yeah,
That
I
sounds
don't
right.
remember.
Maybe Infinitus, which was 2010. But the reason I said it all comes back to pizza was the story I wanted to share, Laura, was one time, I think it was Lumos 2006. We were all here in Vegas for a Harry Potter conference called Lumos. And before the actual convention, we were hanging out on the strip, and I still remember, you know what? No, this was the following year. We were all out here for New Year's, and we were staying at the Luxor. And I'll still never forget going down to the Sbarro in the lobby of the Luxor. And Emerson and I are both in line for a slice of pizza from Sbarro. And he's in front of me. And we both get our pizza slices, and he doesn't buy my slice of pizza. This is 07, 08. MuggleNet was making $1 million in a year. I was busting my ass on the site. He can't buy me a slice of pizza? And ever since then, I have always paid for people who work for me, like through Hypable and all that. Always pay for them. Everything I learned about being a good boss, I learned by doing the opposite of what
Yeah.
Emerson did.
Yeah.
But that story always stuck with me too. It's like, really, dude, a slice of pizza, shitty pizza from Sbarro at the Luxor, you can't pay for.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Matt should have shown up and slapped him again.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if he just appeared.
I think that was before we were dating. Otherwise, maybe
Oh,
he
yeah.
would've.
Well,
Mm.
if only you had Matt then. Yeah.
Yeah. I want to shout out. So 40 is also bringing up like, this is a deep cut. I had not thought about it. 40 said, I also had major contributions to MuggleNet content. I harassed Emerson through email enough to make it onto the wall of shame 3 times.
Whoa.
Do y'all
Oh,
remember the wall of shame?
Oh yeah,
Hero.
that was people loved the wall of shame. That was
Yeah.
one very genius idea from Emerson.
Yeah, that was like what MuggleNet low key was known for, honestly, like among other Harry Potter sites, because we were the only one that did that. You know, a lot of Harry Potter sites had sections that were like books, but not a lot of people would put up hate mail and then insert comments after each piece, go like making fun of them. And we were the only caption contest. Never imitated. So very fun.
Laura, you have a note here about a mutiny?
Oh yeah. I've told you guys about this, surely. There was a very brief mutiny on MuggleNet fanfiction, and actually this is like there's a through line here that I think is kind of a common theme we saw a lot in the fandom back in the day. So most of us who were moderating fanfiction were either teenagers or college students. But there were a few people who were much older, which was fine. But 3 of those folks managed to get Emerson on AIM late one night when I believe he allegedly may have been impaired, and convinced him that most of the fanfiction moderators sucked, and convinced him to give them the reins to like run the fanfiction site. And he did. And they emailed all of us in the middle of the night, firing us. We weren't paid. And of course, but like I was 15. I didn't have shit to do. And I was pissed about it because I had been really proud to work for MuggleNet. And so the next day I confronted Emerson on AIM. And I was like, dude, what the hell? And he confessed. He was like, oh yeah, like I wasn't, like in the best like space to be making that decision. And so then it got rolled back. And then those 3 were like super pissed and quit in protest. But the through line that I'm talking about is like, there were definitely some themes that I noticed. And I think others can maybe relate, of like certain members of the fandom really trying to boss all of the younger members of the fandom around and be kind of shady towards them. And I just hadn't realized until I had this memory to bring up for this episode that like that had happened here too, because those 3 in particular were kind of bullies, and I just didn't like at the time I just didn't realize it, because they were so much older. It was like they got their little power trip through Harry Potter fan fiction.
Yeah, that's like when you're 14 and there are 17-year-olds and you're like doing the same, like contributing to the site, like they have absolute authority over you and you respect them for it, it's like as a default.
No, these people were like in their 30s.
Well,
It's like a superiority complex, I think,
Yes.
which we saw. Oh, maybe we can get into another time. Cross sites, let's say.
Yes. That's kind of what I was like referring to. But
well, it just
we can leave that as a teaser.
Their little corner of the internet. What I want to say too is that although we had dedicated sections, all of us could pretty much like post news if we wanted to. Like it was basically a free-for-all. You just update the index.shtml file with more news. Like we didn't have WordPress, we didn't have anything. Like it was wild west. But the story I wanted to tell, or are we ready for this? Well, I have one that's risque and then one that's not, but very, very funny. So I'm going to tell the PG one. This happened. I know the exact date that this occurred. This was on April 12th, 2003. And so on April 11th, the DVD for Chamber of Secrets came out. and there was a special feature that was an interview with J.K. Rowling and Steve Kloves about the series. And they were being interviewed by Lizo, a guy named Lizo, who did Newsround. And it was a Friday that the DVD came out. I was chilling, not doing much else because I was 14. And I decided that great content for MuggleNet would be to have a transcript of this interview that was a special feature on the DVD. And so I bought the DVD on my way, home from school, rushed home and watched it. And on my laptop, started typing up and trying to manually transcribe. So these days, the tool, it's still tedious, but the tools for transcribing have much improved. Basically, anything that you're recording on will auto transcribe. You'll get some summaries. You'll get amazing. This was word for word, had to pause, rewind, scroll, track, whatever. This, I think, probably like a 40-minute interview. And I posted it that evening, late that night on MuggleNet. I was so happy. I was the first person. I checked HPANA. I checked leakycauldron.org. Nobody else, Niche Seeker, the UK kids, had not done Veritaserum. Nobody had this transcript that I had worked so tirelessly on, and it was hard, and I did it. And in fact, the next morning, early overnight, Leaky Cauldron shared my transcript. And this was a good example of, so I didn't interact with anybody at Leaky. Our relationship, like my relationship with Melissa, this would happen years later. But the story is about my first interaction with Melissa. And what happened is that at 3 a.m. Eastern time, Leaky Cauldron posts the transcript I had worked on. Here's the post. This is from Heidi, who I love. Eric of MuggleNet spent time at his keyboard today and transcribed the interview that Newsround's Lizo conducted with JKR and screenwriter Steve Kloves, which appears on the DVD. We've seen some quotes before, like the diary being similar to an internet chat room, but there are some interesting comments about the books and the script for POA there as well. As we understand it, the interview was conducted late last year, which is why there are references to not having started filming yet. Yes, we know that by now they have. So, my work, transcript, again, hours and hours of pushing pause and play on the DVD and getting it all right, formatting it. I even added, there's a screenshot in the document too of I picked a screen from the DVD. I don't know if I had the software, if I just took a camera and pointed it at the screen and for a banner for the website. And it was starting to get picked up by the other news by the other fan sites. And I felt so good. I was 14. I love this. Okay. Some point, I went to bed. I was very excited. Some point throughout the day, in fact, 18 hours later, a second post goes up on the leakycauldron.org. Subject, corrected JKR Steve Kloves transcript. Body, upon getting the DVD and watching the interview between JKR and Steve Kloves, while we are very, very grateful to Eric of MuggleNet for transcribing it, I noticed that there were a lot of discrepancies between the transcript and the interview. This is Melissa, by the way. Different phrasing, omissions, spelling errors, etc. So
Eric's an idiot and sucks.
So I've taken Eric's transcript and fixed it by watching the interview twice and editing. Is that a flex also, by the way? I only watched this twice.
Yes.
I only watched this twice and fixed it. Okay. These interviews, oh God, further justification. These interviews tend to get used and reused by fans all over, so it's best to get the most accurate info out there. You can see the corrected version of the transcript here.
Shut up.
What did you do that was so egregious, that was so, that just altered the course of Harry Potter filmmaking for the future?
Yeah, spelling errors are not a big deal. Omissions, I'd be curious just how bad the phrasing or omissions was. Eric's a very tedious or a very detail-oriented person, meticulous person.
Yeah.
So So I can't imagine. Go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that there were a few moments where I couldn't understand their British accents, and so I didn't make up words, but I might have paraphrase or like omitted like 3 or 4 words in terms of to get the gist of like what they're saying across. Like I wouldn't have put words in their mouth, but if I couldn't understand something for the life of me and I played it back 20 times and I didn't understand it, okay, you're not going to get a full 100% every single word accurate transcripts. British accents, they mutter a lot. It's horrible. I was 14. Okay. I don't know how I explain it. So, but here's the thing. I remember being crestfallen and a little put on blast.
I bet.
Because,
Yeah.
but here's the thing. Okay. Melissa Anelli, we may know, was a proper actual journalist in New York before starting the Leaky Cauldron website. And
I thought you were going to say
something
proper actual something else.
she was hired by a real didn't she work for a newspaper? Like
Yes,
really?
yes.
She worked for the
Yeah.
Staten Island Advance.
A Staten Island Advance. Sorry, a legitimate Staten Island, a real journalist though. Okay, a real journalist who has a real journalist profession in the real world, a big girl job, meets a 14-year-old with a lot of time on their hands that made some errors. Looking at it now, I don't find a single fault in her post. Right? Because
Nah,
I do.
yeah.
I think
okay.
it's crap.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's a
because
flex. I
I
think
think-
it's
yeah.
her trying to make her site look better than MuggleNet and look better than you in this particular case. And I'm sure that her being a journalist played a huge part in her writing this post the way that she did. Now, I will say though, if you're a journalist, you should probably fact check something before you post it in the first place.
Bingo.
Mhm.
Which they just wanted to ensure that they had the news not long after you posted it, so they chose to cite your work without even checking it. And I don't know, like I'm not going to go back
Yeah,
and look and see
look-
how many spelling mistakes there are, but I think this is
Obviously, okay,
probably
and-
you know, embellished a little bit.
both versions are on the Wayback Machine. I'm not gonna look at them. I will never read them. I don't care. But I understand that accuracy is important. This is why I haven't gotten a career in transcribing. I understand that, this was maybe the only transcript that I ever did that was like breaking news, trying to get a scoop on all the world. But I just remember now this is 2 years before I ever podcasted with Melissa. And I love Melissa. I really like Melissa. Everything that happened with MuggleCast and Leaky and Pottercast and everything in the years past are all just adjacent to this. My initial insight was getting called out for not doing an accurate transcript. And while I can't
So-
fault her, it hurt at the time to receive. This
Of
is not about
course,
me
as
putting
it
her on
should.
blast.
So to expand this conversation a little
Yeah.
more, I think, and as we were kind of alluding to earlier, there was always this dynamic. The MuggleNet was run by the kids, Leaky was run by the adults, and there was this kind of superiority complex coming from the Leaky side, and they were always, to be perfectly honest, jealous that MuggleNet was the bigger site. They were always jealous. They're the adults. Why do the kids have the bigger site? There's a lot of jealousy there.
We
and
also
this is
learned
an
a lot from
example
them.
of Leaky thinking, "Oh, did we learn a lot from them? What did I learn?" That's a good question, honestly. Did
So
we
we
ever learn anything?
We looked
from
up to them, like right, like so.
I
so-
didn't.
Okay, Laura, you were immune.
I'm gonna be real. I always thought they were obnoxious. I always felt very dismissed, and I felt that there was a major superiority complex and a sense that like we were just dumb kids. I got tired. That's why I didn't hang around with them. Like-
here's the thing though, like the Barnes and Noble Union Square wouldn't have happened without Melissa, right? Like,
Okay.
and
That's true.
and
Yeah.
many of our earliest opportunities needed an adult in the room, whether it was Emerson's dad.
Yeah,
or-
some things definitely did need an adult.
Yeah, so I mean, oh, there's more bonus MuggleCast content there. But no. So look, I really maintain that we needed each other to grow. I think that there were moments where we each learned a lot from the other, and I mean, like, there are probably plenty of things that even they would admit to learning from us, like you can't be so uptight all the time. But
Do you
in
think,
terms
do you
of
not
think
that
they would
serious.
actually admit that?
I have a good when I reached out recently,
We
for
all
the new
have
book-
good relationships with
Yeah,
them now,
okay,
for the
okay,
record.
Okay, all right. again, this is not
I
putting
don't
Melissa on
have a
blast,
relationship
No.
with
but
them, but
when we talked about early MuggleNet experiences, this reminded me of the time that I took the reins, decided to post completely unique scoop, content, and it took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and I was rebuked fairly, but nevertheless pretty strongly rebuked for it. And I didn't know the rivalry. I didn't know the site, that well. So I kind of just got put in my 14-year-old place and had to tuck tail and go home.
Eric, do you know what I think the appropriate response to this would have been?
You write in corporate America, Laura. You could come up
I
with
don't
like a innocuous, but like
I don't even
still.
think no,
Yeah.
no, no. You wouldn't even have to do it that way. You know what it is? It's emailing you and saying, "Hey
Oh.
Eric, thank you so much for all the hard work you put in to this transcript. You broke the news, you got it out there so that MuggleNet can like have the scoop. That's awesome. Good for you for doing that. I noticed that there are some spelling errors and some areas where the transcript is a little inaccurate. If you're okay with it, I would like to help you fix it."
Or
Boom.
yeah, no. This is
Be
getting
a
me. Okay, this
be an
works.
adult.
Or I noticed there were spelling errors, and I took the liberty, because it's public and it's on the website. I took yours down and I put ours up, and I just want to let you know, we're very grateful to you for posting the original. Obviously, accuracy is important for the thing. You know what? You're right, Laura, because why did she tell the world that Eric's version of the transcript had so many spelling errors and issues? Why is that on the leakycauldron.org? Literally, where I found this
Exactly.
article? The Wayback Machine, going back to April of 2003, and permanently it's on the main page of Leaky News, that Eric's
So-
transcript was shit. So
Exactly. All right, we've
honest,
gotten Eric where we
yeah.
want them. They're all worked up now.
That makes
I-
perfect sense to me, Laura,
Eric,
and I thank you for saying that. Yes.
I think the best way to close us out then is
Yeah.
to tell a story about an adult getting shit. So to like flip it back in the other direction.
Okay. What's your goss,
No,
Micah?
I'm Eric is staring at me. I'm not quite sure
Oh,
how they feel about this.
I'm thinking. Like to comment.
Are you good
on
with this story?
What story?
Which
The
story?
one I'm about to tell.
The one you wrote in
Oh.
blue?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
confused. Okay.
I don't
yeah, while we
really-
go to that.
Yeah, I
All
don't
right.
really understand it.
All right. Well, let me set the
Micah's
tone.
trying to transition somehow, so let him
Yeah.
cook.
So this is a little bit later in the MuggleNet days. It's actually, I think Andrew, you were still there at the time. It was when I think you, I, and Richard were working on the site, and our good friend Keith Hawk had been brought on board, and he had been given access to
Good friend. Okay.
the ability to post news to the website.
Mhm.
And this is one of these notes that just stands out to me because like I literally remember reading it and then just uncontrollably laughing for like minutes on end afterwards. And maybe it won't land with you all the same way. But I feel like a lot of our listeners who are, engineers or coders or tech geeks will appreciate it. This was a note that Richard wrote to Keith following one of his attempts to post news on the MuggleNet homepage. He said, "So I noticed the site has stopped working in Internet Explorer. It was getting as far as loading the June birthday reminders post. Then it crashed, and the rest of the site went with it." See, I can't even read it. Now, some digging, and I found that this was caused by writing news posts in Microsoft Word and copying it over into the HTML WYSIWYG editor. The result is the crap you see below. I didn't paste it here, but there was a lot of code in that email. Microsoft Word creates its own XML for formatting documents. If you copy and paste that into an HTML editor, it will show the XML, since it's all hypertext tags at the end of the day. But to make a long story short, please write news posts in the news HTML editor provided, and ideally Check each post by clicking the HTML link within the editor. If it looks like garbage, then it's not right. The site would have been inaccessible today for everyone who used Internet Explorer 6, 7, and early versions of 8. Thanks, Richard, the guy who is cleaning up your shit code.
Oh, so Richard, just like the old MuggleNet developer Damon, was always a bit of a grump. Richard has softened in his older years. In fact, we're very good friends now, and he was just out here a couple weeks ago, and we had a great time. He's very friendly, believe it or not. But yes, that was a bitchy email.
And
and
it's a Scottish accent he has, right?
You know, it's the funniest thing is it shows just how fragile the website was. For how popular the website was, this is one of the most trafficked, definitely the most trafficked Harry Potter fan site. And it was really fragile and easy to corrupt and just break code.
But that's any website. I mean, it's just like you're pasting this weird ass code. You can screw things up by pasting weird stuff into WordPress, into podcast feeds. We've had that issue where we copy and paste from like what you see is what you get type of editor, paste it into a RSS feed back when we used to manually update podcasts RSS feeds, and it would break the whole feed. It's just, code is sensitive. And that's why these developers are so grumpy. It's a very tedious line of work. You screw up one tiny little thing, and I think AI is solving this for developers.
So let's be fair to Richard here.
And I think that you really hit it on the head though too, Andrew. It's like that's why we know that they're grumpy is because of the needs of like the business and how he's like. And now we have that respect and appreciation for why they were grumpy all the time. If people were like composing news posts in Microsoft Word, but at least it did tell us how to fix it.
One little aside about Richard, and then maybe we can wrap it up because we'll probably never talk about him again on the podcast. Do you guys remember we brought him on to review Deathly Hallows Part 1 with us? Maybe it was just me, Micah, Eric, and then Richard. But I remember he came on, and speaking of him being a grump, he panned the movie. And I still remember to this day our listeners being like, who the hell is this guy? You bring him onto the show. We've never heard of him before, and he's just shitting all over Deathly Hallows Part 1. Who cares about his opinion? But that was Richard. He's a grump. He's a critical grump. But in hindsight, I was like, oh, I get what they're saying. Like, this stranger walks onto the podcast and poops all over the movie.
Right.
It was funny.
Oh, man. I don't remember that.
It was, let's see.
It was a time.
He was on a few episodes, like around 218, I want to say, 236. Yeah.
We've got some things we can tap into in the future, I believe.
Yeah, we do. I think we should hold some of this because I found an old recording that I don't think has ever been released, and we've got chat transcripts that we can do dramatic readings of because you better bet we had some epic aim fights back in the day.
Oh, Lord.
There was the day that I think, again, I tried to break a news item and it turned out that our virgin ears were too pure for it. And it was banned from all of the Harry Potter websites talking about it.
Wow. Oh yeah, we've got some stories to share, y'all. We're just getting started here, so
warming up.
Stay tuned for more bonus MuggleCast. I want to tap in more to some of this dynamic we were talking about with Leaky. We should probably do that at some point, and Laura's feelings versus Eric's feelings. And Eric, actually, like you, I once misreported a story on MuggleNet, and I was humiliated. And actually, Leaky came out kind of on top, and I can explain that story on a future episode as well.
Oh man!
Oh man! Yeah, in their post where they like Andrew Sims misreported this.
He's an idiot. By the way, he's also gay. Nobody's reported that yet. No.
Well, we also fooled. What was it? Entertainment Weekly. Do you remember that, Eric?
Oh yeah, the Layers
On
of Lady
April
Poe.
Fools.
Our April Fool's joke. We're going to talk about that in the future too. Making up fake news before fake news was a problem. Making up fake news for like April Fools and seeing who would pick it up was
back when it was harmless. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you so much. And yeah, let us know what you thought of this. And if you have any questions about any of the old MuggleNet
Ooh.
fandom history, definitely let us know and we can cover some of those in a future installment. But I think this brings us to a close, and we'll just say thanks for spending another year with us. And we're so excited to hang out with y'all in 2026.
The yearbook was just the beginning.
Bye, everyone.
Bye,
Bye.
y'all.
Bye.
Thanks, patrons. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. We'll be off the next couple of weeks. So our next recording will be January 8th. So we will see you then.